Man, I don't like this topic. I really don't. I don't like taking 18, 19, 20-year-old hockey players, especially ones from British Columbia, and going poo-poo all over their careers and what they have accomplished so far. It doesn't feel good. But we have to have a conversation about Cayden Lindstrom, a top prospect out of the Columbus Blue Jackets organization who was taken 4th overall 2 years ago. Lindstrom is 20, 6'3", 220, a big dude from Chetwynd, BC. And he was taken 4th overall for a reason. If you take a look at this 2024 NHL Draft, you will see some very impressive names taken at the top of the selection. Celebrini is the best young NHL player since Crosby and McDavid. Beckett Seneca made waves this season. Artem Levshunov is a great defenseman in Chicago, and Ivan Demidov just led the entire NHL in rookie points this year. But Cayden Lindstrom is the guy taken before Demidov, taken in the top 5 of the draft, and projected as this potential first-line behemoth monster of a human being. Lindstrom, if you take a look at some of the scouting reports and projections over here, he was ranked 3rd overall by Elite Prospects, 9th overall by Button, and everybody else had him somewhere in between there. So the fact that he went 4th was a little more on the liberal side, but still roughly in line with where he was supposed to go on the draft stage. Lindstrom is a fearless, inventive, inside-driven puck carrier, willing to bury shoulders while darting down the wing or swashbuckling his way through defenders as he carves his way between the hash marks. The combination of his speed and his size confers to him a massive defensive range, and the high-running motor that he plays with acts as the force multiplier that takes it even further. Lindstrom, in his draft-eligible campaign, had 46 points in 32 games. He was dominant, and he was just this force of nature that was torturing opponents in the WHL. The fact that he's big, he has these skills, he has what a lot of folks would say is a classic power forward style tendency to the way he creates offense. There was a lot to like out of Cayden Lindstrom. But the problem was, he ended up suffering some pretty big injury issues in his draft-eligible season. It's why, when you take a look at that 23-24 year, he didn't really play a whole bunch of games from the start of the year up until March and April. He came back shortly towards the end of the draft season and then missed out on the entirety of the 24-25 regular season, 0 games played over there. Now, when you take a look at it, Cayden Lindstrom, post getting drafted 2 years ago, has only played 35 games of of hockey, documented hockey games since. 4 with Medicine Hat in the playoffs, and 31 with Michigan State University in the NCAA this season. The guy had 94 penalty minutes in 31 games, and 10 points. Which leads us to this tweet that was posted by Dylan the Flames earlier this week. Is this guy the biggest bust since Nail Yakupov? Obviously, pointing fingers at the fact that ever since getting drafted, he has only scored 10 points in 31 NCAA games. Now, it's kind of funny. This is a Flames fan going out there and posting this, and the top reply says, hey, wait until you learn about Zane Parekh. Since Zane Parekh. Okay, so people are really just gonna talk smack about the Calgary Flames prospects over here. Top reply from Edler Stick says, I'd wait another year or two before calling Cayden Lindstrom a bust. He came off a big injury and basically missed a whole year of development. He is 20, and he's coming off a back injury. There are plenty of examples of players not succeeding until 24 to 25. The poor kid lost a lot of development time. He is still young with lots of runway left. I wouldn't be shocked if he turned it around quickly if he can stay healthy. Nah, it's not even his fault that he got drafted that high when most knew about his health issues going into his draft year. And so, with that said, He's just turned 20. He's got some major injury concerns. There are a number of ways we can talk about Cayden Lindstrom and the progression he has had so far. If you're looking at just the numbers, just the games, and just the progression of the guys that were taken around Lindstrom in 2024, you can say, would you rather have a guy who had 60-plus points in his first NHL year, or a guy who only had 10 points in 31 NCAA games at the same age? Obviously, you can say that Cayden Lindstrom at this point in time was not the right pick because he's not the best player right now. However, long-term, I do think there is a very reasonable chance that Lindstrom ends up turning his career around. To what extent, I don't know. If he ends up becoming a 70, 80, 90-point first-line winger down the line, then okay, that's awesome. If he does all that at center, that's even better. What's the odds that he does that, though? I'm not too sure. What I do know is that it's a lot lower than it would have been had he just been healthy the whole time in his draft-eligible season and his Draft Plus One. It's hard to really comprehend how much progress is taken away from a guy missing an entire regular season's worth of games at 18 years old. That's so difficult. And because of that, it might have set a roadblock too high to climb for Cayden Lindstrom. It just depends on how he goes from here on out with Michigan State University. For what it's worth, there's another reply to this entire conversation here. Hey, is he the biggest bust since Yakupov? This reply from Ian says, probably closer to these two, Nolan Patrick and Olli Juolevi. Yakupov wasn't great, but he still had an okay career. Terrible by first overall standards, though. It looks like Lindstrom may not even get that okay career. And that's a pretty pessimistic way to look at it. I mean, Nolan Patrick had his career cut short due to injuries. Olli Juolevi had his career cut short because he sucked. And look, I'm the first person to go out there and say that. I am one of the Olli Juolevi haters of this generation, despite the fact that once upon a time, a long time ago, we were making videos on this YouTube channel defending the Olli Juolevi draft selection. But now that I think about it, it's like, if Vancouver had it Canucks fans' way in hindsight, they might have just taken Matthew Tkachuk instead, right? But then Matthew Tkachuk left Calgary because he wanted to play in the U.S. Maybe it wasn't that big of a deal that they didn't take Matthew Tkachuk. Anyways, I'm off on a tangent over here. Olli Juolevi did have some injury issues as well, but really, the guy was not good enough to sustain any sort of a top defenseman level caliber projection. And Nolan Patrick, on the other hand, this is a guy that actually did have to retire early in his NHL/hockey playing career because of the problems he had sustained health-wise. I mean, second overall in 2017, he was so productive in the dub, and he ended up playing so few games over the next few years. Nolan Patrick is one of the biggest tragedies of the modern NHL, from prospect to player to retiree. And Cayden Lindstrom, I'd say if the worst case scenario happens to him, he's looking like a Nolan Patrick 2.0. Maybe not as bad, because Nolan Patrick was second overall and a guy that a lot of folks thought could have gone first, and Cayden Lindstrom didn't go first or second, he went fourth. But hey, Ivan Demidov was taken right after the guy. So was TJ Ginla. So was Carter Yakupchuk. So were so many other top names that you can say are actually projectable as NHL long-term pieces. And I'd say Cayden Lindstrom at the top of the draft is not looking like one of those so far. So with all that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Is Cayden Lindstrom destined to having a bust-worthy career similar to that of Nail Yakupov, or is he more in line with that Nolan Patrick, Olli Juolevi type mold at this point of his career? Where do you think things will go long-term? Do you see him improving his overall stock and getting better as the years go on? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.